All right, cool. So we're looking at Behind the Pretty Frames, Elden Ring by Muhammad. Um, and I actually found out something about this. This frame breakdown. We took a short look at this, and I guess we'll get back to it again. But the thing where you can look at it in stages, um, the recording playback thing, that is a feature
Video.
of, yeah, the video one that shows like each draw call or whatever, wherever that ended up being. But it shows them in sequence. I forget what the hell that was. But anyway, it was it is a feature of Insight. I learned how to use that a little bit
Okay.
this week. Yeah, these ones. Yeah, so where it shows the essentially the just the sequence of all the
Right.
draw calls and things. That is a feature in Insight. It's actually really cool. But anyway,
So I assume most of this is just insight then.
I think they did an Insight capture and then yeah, and then they used that to do the breakdown and everything. So yeah, I don't know how detailed we want to go into this or kind of.
Probably don't have to read everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're looking at a sneak peek behind the curtains of everything lying in Elden Ring. Seem to be rather opposed to capitalizing I, but anyway, the yeah. So looking at usage of D3, D12, and yeah. So on an RTX 3080 with 32 gigs of RAM. Anyway, so I guess there's I haven't really read through this, so I guess this is
So it basically doesn't use any D3, D12 specific features.
yeah. Not
This
using.
part I'm curious about. This all of the 25,000 commands.
Yeah, it looks like it doesn't use any variable rate shading or anything like that. So yeah, kind of not really doing yeah, a lot of D3, D12 specific features. It looks like.
I remember somebody mentioning, a factor that could have been them pushing to DX12 was that the series consoles like only allow you to publish native titles in DirectX 12.
So that would make sense. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I guess they're saying that it's kind of what you would expect from something using an OpenGL API. Or, well, okay, yeah.
So they prepare all resources that they'll, I guess, even potentially need throughout the entire frame. They just do it all at once at the beginning.
I'm a little confused by why. Like, I guess it's not optimal, so maybe there's a great reason, but I wonder why they would want to copy 25,000 descriptors or buffer views. Why could they not, if they're copying it, why could they not just use the existing one?
Yeah, and like you usually just create like a single constant buffer view for the constant buffer, right? You don't really make a new one every time.
Yeah, it's confusing, but I guess, and I'm wondering how that ties into OpenGL because descriptors aren't even a thing in OpenGL. You just take the resources and bind them.
Well, I guess this is their when they moved to DX12. They, I guess, because they weren't used to dealing with them in OpenGL, just kind of copied them every frame.
Yeah, I suspect it's some sort of misunderstanding of the API that caused it.
So I was muted. Um, One of the things that this is indicative of is a DX12 slash OpenGL style renderer that they naively ported to DX12. I meant to say DX11, sorry.
Yeah.
And it's a naive DX12 renderer, but the reason it's naive is because they don't know what their descriptors are every frame until they issue a draw call. So they just figure it out at draw time. And when I say draw time, I mean command buffer recording time. They're also doing, oh, we'll need these descriptors and those descriptors. And so they just redo it every because it's simpler than implementing life cycle based and or global descriptor management.
It's they do it before, like it doesn't seem like they do it when they realize they need it. It seems like they actually do everything up front.
Well, that could still be when they need it. It's just that's way sooner than you think.
That's fair. I also wonder what they're doing. Like this, it talks about how the CPU frame, it's like 75% of the way through before any GPU stuff happens. But I wonder what they're doing on the CPU side that whole time.
Yeah, I didn't quite understand what's going on with that. Yeah, because this would seem to suggest that there's stuff happening on the GPU the whole time, or yeah, at least in the earlier sections of the frame.
I think this image starts where the cursor is in the right image. I think that's
Okay,
maybe
that's
that's
kinda,
not true.
that's what it looks like in this part. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess it's just kind of sitting idle that whole time until 17 milliseconds.
It's pretty bad.
Okay. Yeah. They explain what they mean there. Yeah. So that starting point is actually at this point here. Yeah. So you're right.
Like, what are they doing for 17 or like 18 milliseconds on the CPU?
Chunk of it is copying descriptors
Yes.
I guess.
and creating buffer views.
Wow. It's interesting because I feel like the console versions of this game don't have as bad of stutters that has been a problem on PC. So I wonder what's different there. Maybe they do a better job with the console APIs.
Yeah, or maybe the console APIs they're more input. Or I know the Xbox One is like DX12, so I don't know how that could possibly be better than PC, but the PS4 could possibly be like OpenGL, where just the driver.
I feel like I've heard
makes
it's
it
the
work.
opposite, where it's like even more low level than Vulkan even. But
Yeah, I've heard the
I could
same
be
thing,
wrong.
but I think it's possible they could just expose a wider range of features. Also, what settings are they running the game at?
They said it was all maximum, I think.
Is it like 4K also,
Oh yeah, good
or is it
question.
1080p?
Yeah, 1080p.
Oh,
Actually.
1080p.
Yeah, quality settings.
I wonder if it's
actually-
just. Wonder if it's just a very poor PC port, and it doesn't really have to do with them even like understanding the API or not. Because the Xbox version, as stated, runs fine for what it is.
I think it does have stutters as well, but just not as bad as on PC.
But I kind of wonder if part of that is just like the Xbox, series consoles, like they just have enough grunt to just like push through it.
It
I
could
mean, a
also
lot
be
of
that
it.
they're not recompiling pipelines.
Oh yeah, that is true because there's
So
this.
all the stutters you're seeing aren't just don't exist in the Xbox and PlayStation version because they know exactly which GPU it is, which driver it's using, and so they just ahead of time compile all the pipelines, the big fat binary blob.
That is true. Yeah, and that'll save you a good chunk of time.
The heavy temporal component, I guess, in the rendering. A lot of things happening frame to frame. Yeah, Insight gives you a crazy amount of information about all the buffers that are in use. You can even look at the contents of SSBOs, which I found out you can't do in RenderDoc recently. Lets you like define, like you can give it some like a structure definition almost, and then it can organize because that SSBO is basically just a big block of bytes, but you can give it, what the size of each field is, and it shows you essentially like a table view of it.
RenderDoc has that feature.
Yeah, you can see the vertex input in RenderDoc.
Vertex,
Yeah.
yes, but SSBOs you can't. I tried to.
No, with I thought I was able to do it with the UBOs. If I remember correctly.
UBOs, yes, but SSBOs, I tried for a
Oh.
while and it doesn't do it.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, because I thought that they're relatively equivalent, so I would have expected it to be able to, but yeah, it was just kind of weird. But yeah, Insight's pretty nice actually. It's for all the different aspects, different models and types and things.
I wonder how much different things they have to do for cloth under cloth.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Because they're looking at like animating the vertices, I guess, yeah. So is that kind of some kind of culling thing that they're looking at doing there, or? I'm not sure. Yeah, this is kind of cool. I've seen this they do the well, I guess this is also, yeah. So it's they do the shadow maps in a like an atlas type thing. So they do like these sub shadow maps. That's kind of a neat way to do things.
Interesting. Oh, they have a lot of huge buffers. Okay. I was gonna say a lot of shadow atlases are like everything in one atlas, whereas this is like 12.
Mm.
But I wonder if they could only get so much image in a single, well, they could only make big, and they have a lot of different views that are for different purposes, like, some sort of fancy, no, yet. And so it needs its own depth buffer for whatever reason.
So
I guess all the different lights, right?
comically large.
That's a good
field.
point. Oh, is that 5 directions for each? You have a big one, and then you have 4 other ones? Oh, those are cascades. Okay, that's what that is.
I'm not really up on what shadow map cascades are.
Well,
If different resolution, or like how far away you are.
you don't do one shadow map pointing in a direction. You do multiple at different distances and sizes. So you have one for everything, one for half of everything, one for a quarter of everything. So you get one that's really up close to the character, and then you have 3 or 4 that stretches from you to infinity. So you have a shadow map coverage that is seamless across the entire scene, but it doesn't have it doesn't have the full resolution needed if you wanted the highest precision at the closest. So it's kind of, yeah, it's optimization on shadow maps.
Yeah, the idea is you have the precise shadows close to the player, and then the big imprecise shadows far away from the player.
That's a much better way to put it.
And so, yeah, you can use the same resolution for both, but they cover a different amount of the world.
Okay.
Oh yeah, resolution here is misleading. It's the same number of pixels, but each pixel maps to a different physical size.
Yeah, different kind of density. Okay, that makes sense. So they've got a lot of these G buffer type of things. They've got a lot of stuff going on. Yeah. It's albedo, and then there was the material stuff. This was like material properties, if I remember correctly. Yeah, and depth and normals and stuff. Yeah.
Really not that, like, it's really not that thick of a G buffer.
Let's see how big it is. It's a 32-bit for the color, 32-bit for the depth, 32-bit for the normal, and 24-bit for the. Oh, no, that's 32-bit.
So,
So is that?
100
So that's
so 120 bit. Wait, no.
yeah.
Is
That
it
could be thicker.
40 bit, or is it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the 136-bit then.
Yeah, it's pretty sizable amount of shit to be thrown around.
Like, I really like how towards the end of like the G buffer time lapse, like how it seems like it's not really changing towards the end, but I imagine it's just drawing a bunch of like really small things.
Stuff that fails the testing. Yeah. Yeah, that's a really neat way to visualize things. Yeah, kind of seeing the current state as it goes through draw calls. Yeah, definitely recommend trying out Insight. I think you can do it with a free developer account from them. I don't think you have to be anybody special to access it.
Yeah.
So what's this about 2 floating render targets in the G buffer that do nothing?
Huh.
It says they're usually they usually do nothing. So the author doesn't know what they're for exactly, but they do occasionally have pixels written in them.
Yeah, something special purpose. Yeah, I can imagine like they're talking about a target for a missive, and then they might use it for other effects, something like that.
So there's a typo on final swap chain frame 1920 by 180 instead of 1080.
That's a very small swap chain.
Yeah. It's very narrow. It's very wide.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Ultra wide.
It's very cinematic.
Panorama.
This I think they call it interleaved gradients. I'm not sure. That's a yeah, it's more common to their pattern now. I think people generally don't like Bayer matrices anymore.
Oh,
It's got a kind of a characteristic look to it. But yeah, there's something about that stuff, kind of characteristics of them. Yeah, I saw somebody was on the GP server was messing around with randomly generated dither sequences for that, which is kind of neat.
I love the baby texture they put.
It's the real size dither pattern. Yeah. So I started doing decals that draw over top of the G buffer. It's do blood and shit like that. No decals, yay. So they've got a number of compressed textures that they're using for the decals.
Alright, can someone remember all the different block compression formats?
Not off the top. I kind of generally know what they're about, but
Haven't new.
I just want the meme where it's like, oh, block compression, name all of them.
Yeah, right, holding up a gun.
impossible.
Yeah.
I'll link the.
I wonder what the swirly texture is used for, the BC7 Unor.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Is it?
The one that looks like normals?
It's like a normal map. Yeah, I guess. Maybe something to give it
So
texture.
it's like
Is it like the dirt texture maybe to like make it look like it's lying on dirt?
Yeah, that's probably something like that. Yeah, to give it characteristics of the surface that it's sitting on top of.
Yeah, because it kind of looks like the ground there.
And maybe displacement. I'm not sure. Yeah. Something.
Well, you wouldn't need to have a new normal texture. Because you're applying it after the G buffer is already rendered too.
That's
Yeah.
a good point.
This is actually the
Read it from
it's
here.
actually the normal of the blood. I think the purpose is to make it look to give it the glance and
The
I don't know,
blobbiness.
cloddy bits.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
It's weird that it just doesn't line up with the actual texture, though, right?
Yeah, that's true, but I guess the actual texture is alpha mask. I'm not sure I'd have the full normal map though. It might be some generic normal map they use for different things.
True, yeah.
Like where they have non-zero values, they check the normal map, something like
Yeah, I
that.
guess you don't want it to look like. Yeah, I guess you don't want to look like a sticker. If,
True.
Yeah, because I read a little bit about deferred decals, and you can give the decals their own normals. That is a thing, because you don't always want to inherit the surface normals.
What is this whole like drawing with a cube volume versus this truncated prism? I don't know enough about deferred decals to know what this is.
It looks like a quad to me.
Well, they're saying like it's usually using a cube volume to
Oh, I
project
see the
it,
cube now. That
and
is
then
interesting.
I just don't even understand what this is going for because I haven't looked into how you do this.
Which it says, and then after the picture, I believe it says.
So do you put the decal on like one of the faces of the cube and then like intersect it or something like that? What is the cube for?
It has to do with rasterizing a box that encompasses the surface, and then like projecting the decal onto the surface when you rasterize, and so you need to render the box over it
Okay.
for reasons.
why can't it be just like one flat, like quad or something?
I think it might have something
I
to
guess
do
because
with
it needs to. This the surface is bumpy. You need it to always work because it would be view dependent if you didn't render a 3D volume.
Yeah, what if it has something to do with like projecting
Right.
from the end of the box onto the surface or something? So it's got like a kind of a, it looks like it has a source or something like that. It's been projected down onto it. I'm not sure.
But wouldn't you be like creating this volume at draw time so you would be able to just use a plane, right? Because it's already view dependent.
Maybe it's because they don't want the splatter to be on something close to the screen, so it needs to be in the scene locally. So you're not rendering, like, you see that rock ledge in the bottom left. You don't want a quad that accidentally covers that rock ledge, and then you have a decal drawing on the rock ledge separated from the actual blood.
It looks like in the bottom right one, it's covering the player, right?
Yeah,
Well,
to
probably
draw this thing.
mask it off or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think they might, yeah, for because I imagine you could probably get intersection points on the frustum shape, and then you could kind of like look at, if there's stuff in front of that geometry, and then kind of, once you have that intersection point, you could kind of like look at the G buffer there and figure it out from there. Yeah, I'm not really sure.
Okay.
Yeah, it's saying that it's a projection, huh? So it's like almost like projecting lights or something, like a projective light.
I know the picture in the voice chat channel. hopefully illustrates how it works.
So wait, so it's the intersection of the box and the object. That's what you want.
Yeah, so I guess where the yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
That looks really cool.
Okay, so yeah, so I guess the exact shape doesn't matter here. So there's this weird little prism, just wherever it intersects with the ground, that's where you do it. Although, but that the one at the bottom right's not intersecting anything.
Yeah, it's a little strange. Though I wonder if it's extended down far enough that
It's
it's kind of
everywhere.
yeah. We don't really have
Maybe
a
it's
sense of
everywhere that
occlusion.
the box is. Sorry. Yeah, I don't know, we should probably study deferred decals in more detail some other time.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I want to read that article. That looks cool. Yeah, and you can kind of see how these things are distorted from like a viewpoint, like it's stretched along one axis. And you can sit there too.
Yeah.
Hmm. The MTD param.
Wait, there's hair specular as a. I
Three of them, I guess.
wonder what that is.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe if you put blood on the hair or something, you need to do some stuff with the specular.
Not sure. That's pretty strange.
Okay, why is there two elements of that?
Mm.
That's weird.
Yeah, sure.
I wonder if it fixed a bug and they just left it there.
Probably.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, like alignment or something with some other thing.
Stranger things have happened.
How did they get all the structs with I didn't know. Oh, they must have. So with all the debug info, all the identifiers, the author did not recreate these themselves.
They maybe got it out of the shader. Is that possible?
Because all the games I've looked at, I do not
Well,
get
look
anywhere
at
close to as much
near
info.
near the top. It says CB model param pad. Oh wait, no, that makes sense as to be a padding. But it might be he couldn't figure out what that was for, and so that's just the default value. It's like this is how it's laid out, but what their names are, I don't know. And it has to dig further into it, maybe.
It'd be impressive to
What?
decode all these names, though.
Oh, yeah, it might be they're only the ones that are used are referenced by name in the shaders, and so it's easy to do that. It's just not all data in it is referenced, and compiler strips out things that aren't referenced or something like that. I don't know.
You'd think though, because it's DX12, it's the it would be the
It's like,
compiled shaders, right?
yeah, I mean
Right.
the
I've had
XIL.
games before and picked and nearly as much info. So there must have been like debug info or something.
Yeah, I feel like that has to
Might
be
have been a thing. I
necessary.
feel like the developer did accidentally ship a debug version of the game at one point. Or
Probably.
maybe I'm misremembering.
They have, I think, with the previous one, so I wouldn't be surprised if it happened again.
Okay, so they have like a projection matrix to put things in decal space.
I wonder if that's that weird Preston thing, or if that's
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think it makes sense. And the eye position in decal space. That's interesting. So you yeah. Huh.
Oh no, there's a quiz. I'm gonna fail. I'm gonna go with 83.
I'm gonna say 84.
You know how to play prices, right?
I'm gonna say 1.
Yeah.
Oh, you too.
Yeah, maybe they're all frustum cold because you can't see the character's feet.
Oh, it's none.
Oh man, none of us were right. Oh wait, no, there's 60.
Oh, what?
Wait, there's
Yes,
60
they're
being
all-
drawn and none of them are visible.
They're all
Oh
good,
my
yeah.
god. God.
Occluded
Like,
somewhere behind the far tree.
Is this within the frustrum? Yes, no. No, let's draw it anyway.
Yeah. Did I copy them somewhere?
Oh wait, they're all animated.
Yeah, so I guess they're yeah. That's what the final result is.
What does surface mean in the G buffer?
Part of it's
So
metallic.
it's like material ID.
Yeah,
Mm.
material properties. Yeah.
Oh right, it's that whole 3.
There's properties.
You know,
Yeah. Packing, diffuse, specular, all that crap. Not diffuse. Metallic roughness,
Yeah.
specular glossiness. That's right, that looks like a like a green-blooded murder scene in the progress.
Right, I think the red channel.
Radioactive footsteps.
Ay ay ay.
Looks like a PS1 game or something. I love those cube maps.
Why is there a W channel?
I don't know. This looks cool as hell.
Yeah.
What's an irradiance wall?
Oh, sorry. That's like the irradiance at each point in space, right? So you can use that to.
That's kind of like a voxelized, like light intensity kind of thing.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't
So-
know. Well, it might be voxelized.
Well, I mean,
I see cube map and think a 2D texture array of 6 slices.
but there's 72 slices of those. So
So yeah, I think that it may be voxels. So it's like a voxelized approximation of the lighting in the scene. Because they kind of look like the thing we're looking at, the volume X, Y, and Z. They kind of look like the X and Z. They look like a columns and pillars type thing.
Yeah, like doorways.
And then the Y is like going down through it, and so you can see the columns directly.
Yeah, I wonder if
So
that's
the cube maps and the
It
irradiance
looks
volume.
like a more right.
Yeah.
The cube maps, I believe, are for specular reflection, and then the irradiance volumes are just for baked and diffuse. I presume.
these look very cool.
Is that RT for render target or I assume render target?
Got your under target.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't think there's any ray tracing.
good.
Oh yeah.
Well, there may be ray marching for like a screen space reflection or something, but ignoring that.
Although I think they do plan on adding ray tracing in the future, which, I don't know how that's gonna
Oh,
pan
oh
out.
dear lord.
Well, maybe that's why they did that whole 25,000 copies. It's just to reserve the room for ray tracing later.
Pad your frame
Genius.
budget.
They've made it intentionally slow now so people don't expect it to, like they don't see the frame rate dip when they add ray tracing.
It's this one trick to get cheap ray tracing.
Yeah,
That
it's-
reminds me of apocryphal stories in like the 80s where a company would have a slow week, and to make it look like they're still making progress, they'd remove one of the wait 5 seconds in the code
I remember
that they just had a couple of laying around for times like that.
Yeah, I remember
Genius.
seeing something. It was like, yeah, it had like 3 of those commented down. And it was like the client had paid for 3 upgrades or something.
Oh no.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Gotta leave room for
Or
improvement.
or you add them back in and be like, man, this latest changes, we need more money and time to, really suss out the performance problems. Unethical software development tips.
So mention cinematics and nothing changes.
Same renderer for both. I guess.
At least they're not like lying to you.
I don't see a real reason why cinematics should be somehow magically better, because they're still running inside the game engine. You,
I
you
guess
would
it's
want
like
your thing to look good all the time, everywhere, not just like in one cutscene.
if the view direction's fixed, you could probably like call a bunch of stuff and
Well, hopefully you could do that in a runtime too, because like you're looking forward and not behind you.
guess you
I'm
could-
spitballing here.
you can pre-compute the culling, I guess.
About pre-computing, you can pre-compute more stuff, but
Well, counterpoint, the more you pre-compute, the more painful it is to change the cutscenes and that kind of thing when you're developing it.
That's why you build a real fancy pipeline that does it all automatic.
preview mode cutscene.
Well, and also like a lot of games I've heard when you go into photo mode, they do actually get a lot prettier.
Yeah,
I think also because they can turn off all the like AI and all the updates of everything.
Yeah, you don't have to resend the.
I mean, it
the
depends on the
stuff.
kind of photo mode. If if it pauses the whole game, then sure. But if it's not if it's a real time fake phone or whatever, then they can't really make the same shortcuts.
Yeah, I imagine it could be easier on the bus if you don't have to resend vertex stuff each frame or like animation stuff.
Ooh.
That's a good point too.
So I guess we have some redundant depth downsampling.
The one here is not justified. That's weird. They just wait. So are they saying here they do the whole depth downsampling and then throw it away?
I'm doing it for kicks, yeah.
yet, I think. It's
I
done
think-
now, but we don't see the purpose of it.
Oh, okay. So yeah, okay. So thankfully they're not just getting rid of it.
No depth for you.
Maybe it'll be added in another update.
They just want to warm the caches or something.
Yeah. I meant game update.
So they're doing the screen space ambient occlusion on half resolution depth targets.
That kind of makes sense.
What is the output? Like all the weird stripy stuff. Like what is that? Is there like a
Yeah, I think
way to
somebody
rationalize what that is?
somebody mentioned last week it was probably packed floats, maybe like a depth texture or something.
Yeah. What we're seeing is the values are clamped. Like the values we're seeing, the red, blues, and greens, it's because they're just dividing they're removing the magnitude and they're just taking the mantissa between 0 and 1 kind of thing.
They're just taking a fract of
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
What would it like what is that number representing? Like the amount of brightness allowed in that spot or something?
I don't know.
Same.
When I think of SSAO, I think of a single value between 0 and 1 that modulates ambient.
Okay.
Or-
Yeah, so it'd be like how much it's shaded or something, like in shade.
Yeah, I'm
Except I
wondering-
don't understand why.
There's definite activity in the blue channel and stuff here, so I wonder if it's like if you're looking at like exponent and mantissa packed into these events or something like that.
Huh.
Yeah, it could be one of the fancy RGB or the values, and the A is the exponent values, the mantissa.
Okay, so it's probably just representing a single float.
Yeah, it could just be those 32 bits
Two.
are one float.
Okay.
It says in the after the
Packed
pictures,
texture. Yeah, scroll down a bit.
This is packed
the
texture.
actual SSAO is in the R channel,
Okay.
and the A channel is the map, and
What's GB?
green is some weird curse stripey thing.
Looks like depth, except that it's
Yeah,
reinterpreted as what is it called? UN8 or something.
but it'd only be 8-bit depth at most, which
That might be a partial component kind of thing.
Your
yeah, what you'd use it for.
your stream bungled
Yes.
up for me. Could you
Yeah,
like scroll down a notch?
Sorry, which
Oh, that's cursed.
It's just like a
Compression is dying.
yeah.
Oh god.
I'll take a
Well-
screenshot.
We'll just have to wait for it to subside. And the fact that we're looking at like depth intermediate buffers does not help the
Yeah, true.
legibility because it's we're reinterpreted data.
oh Jesus.
Right. I think the red channel looks like actual.
Sorry, what was that? The red channel?
The red channel looks like real ambient occlusion stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
The
they
rest I
mentioned
don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, because it does look like it should. Yeah.
the alpha channel is a mask for what to apply the SSAO to.
Why would
Ah.
you
You don't want it on the
Oh,
sky.
yeah. Right. What is B then? Oh, B is just a depth buffer, right? Right?
But it's
Or-
only 8 bits.
Right, okay. And then
And so, like, I don't know what it'd be used for.
This
And
might
then
be
what do you-
this might be the whole numbers, and this might be the fractional components. Maybe.
Oh,
Oh yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. So B
Yeah,
and G
it's a
are the
16-bit.
depth buffer.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
16-bit depth buffer
Yeah.
where
that's
a fixed
fract
point.
word.
Oh, 16-bit depth.
Yeah, and that's the fractional part. That totally makes sense.
do they not already have the depth buffer?
Yeah,
somewhere?
why don't they just use the actual depth
Yeah,
buffer?
because they already had it from the. No, we needed to go ahead and do it a third time.
Yeah, I don't understand.
This is
Because
interesting. That random rotation helper texture is interesting. It's like you got 2-channel random data to read from for doing the checking your neighbors kind of thing for the screen space ambient occlusion.
Oh, is it because it's in half resolution that they want a different depth buffer? But I mean, but they did it already. Yeah.
Yeah, they said they already downsampled it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, is the depth buffer inverted?
Yeah.
White being
So that's
closest.
white where it's close by. What can you scroll down to the RG? It is that inverted or is that just the clamping being
Wait, it
weird?
doesn't actually look like a depth buffer because it's just some stuff far away that is darker than the nearby stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Also, the depth buffer was 32 bits. It looked like.
Well, yeah, to be truncated if it was. So this is not the depth buffer, but it is a 16 point floating point or fixed point number. 16 bit with, 8-bit mantissa and 8-bit um uh regular number part. Whole integer?
I'm not even really sure how
The
to
regular
interpret
number.
this. This looks totally bizarre. Yeah, when you look closer, it's like, what the hell is going on here? Yeah, because it looks like maybe you're wrapping around or something as you go further back.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me.
Maybe it's a cheap ass fog effect.
Could that just be a artifact of the splitting up a floating point?
Could be.
Maybe.
Yeah, it seemed to be cycling.
Yeah.
I wonder if
Oh
it's
yeah,
somehow
because
related.
like maybe the exponent, whatever, as you get further away, the exponent shifts, so the like
Maybe it's just
part of
not an
it goes
even
back
8 to
down.
8 split, like it's a 10 to 6.
Yeah.
Right.
So it
Yeah.
wraps in the exponent buffer once or twice.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that actually makes sense. If it's like a half float or something, then
Yeah.
it's then the exponent's 6 bits, right? So
Oh yeah.
Interesting.
Well, I'm glad we figured out what the data is. We just don't know why.
Maybe it's explained if we keep reading.
Where's the fun in that? Excuse me.
I have a feeling the author also doesn't know what the G and the B are for. Because he never explains it.
It would be interesting if somebody wanted to take these images and reinterpret the bits and see what they could see, I guess. See if you could get values out of that. That made any kind of sense.
You'd probably figure it out by looking at the shader bytecode and like painstakingly recreating the shader, decompiling it, I guess.
Well, I just mean interpreting the pixel values, like you got, 0 to 255 for each of these, and then you...
It's a different approach entirely in just looking at how it's actually used in the shader.
Mm.
Yeah, that'd probably make more sense, yeah.
But I don't know.
So, yeah, render the full thing in half resolution, then upscale it.
How did they like the previous bit? They talked about interpolating with the previous frame. How do they know? Do they have a motion vector or something?
Uh,
Or
What was
do
the
you
question?
not need one?
I don't know. They say open both in tabs and switch between them. So, I guess, yeah, you just reinterpret the values and you've got 2 frames to work with. Yeah,
But you
I'm not
need
sure.
to know like how it changed, right?
Yeah. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not very experienced with temporal stuff.
Maybe ghosting SSAO isn't that noticeable.
So you can just
It's only
hope it didn't move much.
it's only 2 frames history, so you're not really carrying a lot of state.
Oh, if you're always accumulating with the previous frame, it's more like infinite frame
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
accumulation.
That's true. Yeah,
Yeah, if you have like recursive IIR filter stuff.
that's right. Yeah, it would carry it forward. Yeah, never mind.
Maybe it's just assumed that there's motion vectors and stuff to make it work.
Maybe that's part of the mysterious G and B. I'm really not sure.
Yeah, there's like motion compensated and motion adaptive. Motion adaptive could just check like depth differences or something between the frames, and then not what do you call it? Use temporal filtering if it's too different or something.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Like, I don't feel like there's anything that's kind of special like this game's use of temporal like accumulation so far. It seems pretty standard as far as AAA games go.
Yeah, I haven't really looked into temporal stuff enough to know what's going on.
Is that anything? Maybe some sort of projection from
Oh,
previous frames.
yeah,
or
that would be.
current-
Yeah.
I like the difference between the two view matrices.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, how to get one from the other. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it could reproject it.
Yeah, because you've got.
Also, motion of.
Very good.
I would say also motion of world objects would affect like temporal accumulation. So just having. I don't know what you do with one matrix.
Right. Yeah, because that would only do it for the camera.
Yeah. True.
Maybe this
Misc perhaps.
miscellaneous parameter. It's it's the secret sauce. Details about how the shadow is stored. Huh. So maybe it's telling what type of shadows it is. Yeah. Telling that it's from the sun or something. Huh. Yeah, it's wild how good the like normal mapping and stuff on current games looks. I mean, it's really something. Like, I don't know. Just
Yeah.
noticed that recently. It's just like, damn. So we got some specular render targets.
So that irradiance lookup or that render target that was coming from like image-based lighting and stuff. Is that true?
Very monochrome,
Yeah.
but I guess that's fitting for the game.
Yeah, it's generally kind of white light, I guess. Yeah. You don't have a lot of colors here. This I thought was interesting. The mesh for the sky. Yeah, this is a super weird way to structure that mesh, but maybe that's
Not optimal.
maybe that's behind the player or something like that. I'm not sure. Yeah, atmospheric terrain. I think that's like Vista type of stuff where it's like more distant geometry and kind of would be using that to check against the yeah, so you can have occlusion for background objects on the sky. Yeah, I wonder if that's like tiles that are swapped in and out. If that's why they do it like that. If they just kind of chop this up and they kind of load it in and out, maybe something like that.
Arts pattern. I wonder if that was meant to be stars.
Yeah,
I think so.
the moon and stars.
It's copy pasted 3-4 times in this one view right here.
I don't think this author is a primarily like English speaker, so
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
I guess I won't really hold it.
Their name is Muhammad. That's
billed
a very
simply as
common
Muhammad.
Middle Eastern name. So
BC7 is the 3-channel something, maybe. I don't know. It's the, I think that's one of the ones that does HDR, the floating point values.
It's interesting that the luminance is like wider than the moon, but then there's a mask.
Yeah, that is weird.
I wonder what that's for.
That's interesting.
Well, I wonder if that's to kind of like have a little bit of bloom over the stars and stuff, but then also just have the occlusion.
might be so it doesn't have any. It might be because they don't want any of the stars behind the moon being rendered.
Oh,
yeah.
right.
But then you have this
makes
bleed out
sense.
a little bit, and you still have stars shine through.
Well,
Yeah, fair enough.
the bleed out, that's where it's not physically blocking the light of the stars and during the rim around it.
Mm-hmm. The starts. Semi-deformed secondary dome. Drawn inside the first bigger dome. Yeah, I'm curious why they have two. That seems really strange. Like, I guess this one is really only going to show on this center section, but I'm not really sure why you would do this much stuff if it's all going to be occluded by the darker blue.
Well, it might be that the dark blue is the skybox or the background, and then the cyan is the clouds that get rendered on top of it. It just the meshes happen to be aligned like that.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Oh, right. So it's not actually like occluding it or something. It's...
Yeah.
Discard some. Yeah. Be less than 1 alpha. Yeah. Some pretty cool cloud textures.
Yeah, I like how they just draw cloud textures. I feel like I've seen a lot of like really fancy cloud stuff, but they just kind of stick with textures.
Yeah, just straight up. Here's a picture.
Yeah. Had some really impressive clouds here today. I got some good pictures again. It's fake cloud simulation. Got some motion vector type of stuff.
See any differences?
Yeah, that person is the in the voice chat. I think that is the same guy because the site name matches and also Mohammed. They have a thing for redundancy.
That terrain map, the left two look kind of like a fantasy map or something.
Yeah, it looks weird.
Like something you'd draw up for D&D.
Yeah, it does look cool. Looks like erosion type of stuff. Now we know how to spell stars. I was gonna say, didn't. I thought those were stars, yeah. Okay, yeah, so. Because that's the front layer and the terrain layer, and then the base layer, so that's the two different skyboxes.
Yeah.
Can't really see a huge amount of difference, just looks like it kind of brightened it. And we are into post-processing.
No compute chambers.
Seems like, yeah, doing that in compute makes a lot of sense if you're operating on an image.
Yeah.
Curious what the red streaks are.
Almost looks like it's related to the hair or something, but like under the hood, which
That's
probably is not right. Oh yeah, there's no hair.
well, maybe. No, I'm really not sure what that would be.
Maybe they're just artifacts that go away when they blur it later or something.
Oh, you don't blur. The COC texture is what you use
Oh
to
yeah.
blur.
What is it? The diameter of the circle of confusion, or is that what?
Yeah.
This, okay. Yeah. Okay. Ay. What?
You can see more of the artifact.
Just keeps getting worse.
Number of DOF fragment shader executions limits. Okay. So it's doing some sort of. So if this is the radius or whatever of that circle, then it could just be like, just capping it at some value, or I don't clamping it somehow.
Kind of interesting that they use a fragment shader for like depth of field. I figure that's more of like a compute shader things these days.
Yeah, right. There's Zen. Yeah. It doesn't do any compute post processing. Yeah, it would seem more appropriate. Yeah.
This whole thing is kind of giving me like early like PS4 era vibes.
Apparently, he never hit 60 FPS in open world. Oof.
What's his GPU?
He's a
So
3080,
Yeah.
an RTX
Oh.
3080, and then his CPU is a Ryzen 9 5950.
That's bad.
So
I mean,
pretty
like
much
not
top
the
of the line.
specs, but like the game.
Does
Kind
look
of
quite
bad.
nice though.
So I guess they.
And he's only running this at 1080p as well.
Mm-hmm. I guess they don't do the DOF during gameplay. It's just for cinematics or something. Maybe. Wait, so it's computed but then not
Must be
used.
very good.
That's good.
Huh. That's wow.
Just keep thinking about how you could never get this information from our engine like this. Because it's packed completely differently. I loved it. I like that. It's interesting.
Must be pretty good.
Consistent non-capitalization of I, like through the entire
Yeah.
thing. Seems like a statement.
Dave nailed it.
So they do some kind of velocities, yeah.
Mm.
The pixel velocities, it's just the motion vector.
So that's two-dimensional. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
What's the stencil for?
It'd be, could it be for the TAA?
Probably.
Like,
I'm just
what-
not sure how it's
Or
computed.
do you want to like only apply it to certain areas or something? That seems weird.
Doesn't make sense because we want to to AA as much as you can.
Yeah.
Huh.
DMY2.
Lord knows.
Seems pretty standard for Bloom.
Now comes the processing.
They do all the. Oh, they do all the posts at half res first.
Okay, I like screen space, Sunshaft type stuff, yeah. Or is it screen space?
It's in the middle of the clear.
I'm gonna dip. My throat is clogging up on me. So have a good one.
See ya.
And
So
take it
Take
easy.
care.
I will.
Get better.
Yeah, feel
Bye.
better.
Thank you.
Bye.
Oh, interesting. It's mesh based.
Yeah, it's surprisingly good with just a mesh.
I think it's probably because it's all coming. Well, I don't actually know, but like maybe because it's all coming from the same massive object in the same direction all the time. Maybe it's easy to do that.
Oh, it's crazy
Yeah,
how
it's
different the tree looks before and after.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. That's cool.
I like the little comment down there where it's like owl alignment.
Yeah, they seem to be quite disappointed with that. Though, is it really that bad? I mean, it's. Well, I guess they could. Yeah,
Wait, isn't that fine?
they could use
Because you got a
another
float
for
two
it.
and then two floats.
Yeah. So I'm not really sure what the guidelines are. Yeah, because you got 4 and 4, 4, 4, 4. And then these equate to 4, 4, 4.
Isn't there something about it you want it like aligned on like 16 bytes too or something?
The alignment requirement for buffers and
Is it 64?
graphics API is kind of strict. So the float fours probably have to be aligned to 16 byte boundaries. So that's why
Right.
that's why they organize like they do.
Oh, and that will mean that there'll be 3 float fours, or sorry, 3 floats worth of padding after this as well, right?
Oh, on each of these.
Well, like at the end of this, because it doesn't. Wouldn't the next? Oh no, I guess like the
they
next.
have a
structure.
float 2 and then 2 single floats, so that
But then it ends on a float 4.
there
Right.
shouldn't be extra padding at the end.
Or like at the beginning of the next one, because don't the in the buffer doesn't have to be on like 16 byte boundaries or something?
Well, one float 4 is 16 bytes.
Or yeah, wait, sorry.
I was just saying how much more there was here. It's,
Yeah, you're totally right.
So would each of these become float fours, or am I misunderstanding?
No, so the alignment and size of float 2s and float 1s is just what they look like. So the float 2 has to start on an 8 byte boundary, and then the single float starts on a 4 byte boundary. So the way the struct is laid out right now, there's no padding, no implicit padding.
that's good.
So maybe he's
Oh,
cheering.
so are they saying that they're happy? Because it sounded like they were not happy earlier.
Oh,
Yeah. Look, I can't tell if that's cheering
no,
or
I was trying to
frustration.
explain how it works. Oops.
Because we've got another stage of bloom. What happens? Huh.
It's kind of sad that they only use Reinhardt tone mapping.
Some questionable choicing on that image.
Oh well,
scaling,
yeah.
'cause it's a 1 pixel tall. It's a 10-bit lookup thing.
MTX color multiplier. Oh, that's in multiplayer at first, and I was very confused.
It might be like a material something. Separating the chromatic aberration from the red, green, and then the blue.
Okay, this one actually is bad alignment, right? Because it starts with a float 3.
I guess it'd be one float of padding after that float 3.
And what would the so the float 4x3? No, it's just like
I
3
think-
float 4s, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
I guess the
I'm basing all
Boolean, because that would be just 4 bytes.
the bool.
What are
Yeah,
we back
bool
in
4,
just
right?
1
I'm
second?
assuming it's just a
I
single.
think 32 bits and
Really? Oh, wow.
HLSL.
Yeah, I'm confused that all the callouts for alignment, because
I'm basing all this off of the standard 430 layout in GLSL, so I could be completely wrong. But I'm pretty sure HLSL has similar layout rules.
yeah, I just looked it up. It is 16 byte boundaries.
So when it comes to booleans, do modern GPUs like support like bitwise operations?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So if you had a bunch of bools, then it's better to like pack them into like one like 32-bit int or something.
This would be a good candidate.
Yeah,
seems
that's
like.
common to do.
So I'm not sure why you need a 4-channel sample count. You could probably pack these into that.
Maybe there's 4 textures. Oh wait, but what would it be sampling? It's only sampling the color texture.
Yeah, it seems a little.
Maybe it's per color channel.
It could be. But I still think with 32-bit UNs, you could find some bits to use.
I don't think it really matters that much for performance.
You'll still be yelled at for it though. So.
Yep.
Wait, so with the Bool 4, how big is that going to be? Are those 8-bit? Or
My understanding is that they're 32 bits, but I don't see on the page that Owen linked that there isn't bools on here.
that sucks very
Yeah.
hard. What is that, like 90-something% waste? Or, well, I guess, I don't know. Okay, it could be more than just four flags. Yeah, I guess that was just, yeah. Yeah. We got lookup table for color grading. Yeah, this was kind of interesting. I saw something about this. Yeah, doing some video editing stuff. They take advantage of the interpolation on the sampling in order to.
Bools, Sorry.
I was just gonna say it's more efficient than keeping something that's gonna have an explicit result for every color value.
Oh. I just looked up and bools are 4 bytes in HLS.
Yuck. At that point,
If you're gonna use, sorry.
I was just gonna say you might as well use uints then. At that point, that's silly.
Yeah, just clear. And if you're gonna use a bunch of pools, then you should pack them into a single UN.
Yeah, that's the equivalent of the bool 4 is the equivalent of a full 4x4 matrix, right?
It's the equivalent of.
Oh wait, no,
Or-
4x2.
No, just one float 4 or something for int 4.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, right. Sorry, we screw up those head maths.
I wonder if you can make a bool 4x4 if they have integer matrices in HLSL.
I know they do BVEX, but I don't know about bigger than that.
Okay, there are integer matrices in HLSL, so there probably are bool matrix.
There is, yeah, I think.
If you want to do that Kirsch construct.
Use that for some kind of masking or something like that's kind of a. I'm not really sure what the application would be.
Looks like any of the scalar types you can use as a matrix.
Yeah, you use a single UN 32 and you could store 2 bool matrices in there. 2 4x4 bool matrices.
Gross.
They didn't stop to ask if they should. Something.
Yeah.
Final compositing.
Oh, sorry. Just one last thing about the booleans. I just remembered too. You probably run into a bunch of issues uploading the data to the GPU, right? Because it's probably gonna be not or 32 bits on the CPU side.
Yeah, and C++, the bool is, I believe, guaranteed to be by as a character.
Right. So you're gonna have to like take that. You can't just do mem copies or whatever.
Yeah, you'll die. You should. Yeah.
You could just
have to
type
use it.
def. You could use a type def and use some other type.
That's
Yeah,
true.
you could make a bool 32 type.
But at that point, like, why?
Actually. Yeah, why? You just use a UN.
For efficiency. Oh man, I am starting to get pretty tired. But
Almost there, right?
yeah. Well, 3/4 anyway. Yeah.
Oh.
We're an hour and a half deep. It's,
Oh boy. I suppose we also don't have to go through every part of it if there's any like highlights.
Yeah, I might kind of start going through a little quicker. Yeah, so doing some masking for the UI. Looks like. A flask of crimson tears. You know, I had a thought about well, completely unrelated, but I wonder if Marvel is behind the proliferation of the Morbius memes.
No.
Some sort of.
That'd be quite the conspiracy.
Yeah, right.
They also.
Isn't it
Also
like
more like
Sony? Like it's like barely Marvel. It's like one of those ones where like Sony actually
Oh,
owns
like
it.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, I think it's one of those.
Part of the publicity budget was
Maybe.
just getting out there and spreading these. things all over. Anyway,
That'd be funny. But yeah, let's get back on topic.
There's intrusive thoughts.
yeah. Right. No, I was thinking about. I don't know. I was thinking about the fact that there was a lot of talk of, various things from Elden Ring, and kind of just made me think of that. Anyway, yeah, because that was like on Slack at work. It was just like nonstop for a couple of weeks.
No. All right, what do they? Yes, what do they actually use compute for?
Not that much, apparently. Oh, can you expand the compute state thing?
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's just a key.
Okay, so there's just kind of some way to call execution of at a shader level. Like, just don't dispatch the shaders if they don't need to be done.
Wait, what are they saying here? There's a compute shader to downsample, but they don't downsample. What's happening here? Oh, it's just called depth downsampling, but it produces these instead.
What are these?
Is that what they're saying?
Two results of the downsample pass with a new mask image. Yeah, I have no idea.
Maybe it's just a misnomer.
Yeah, that seems to be what's happening. Is that weird mask one? Is that kind of just highlighting the edges of stuff?
Maybe.
Because there's some kind of light green for like the grass edges, I guess.
It does seem to be that way, yeah. It looks like it goes into green when it's, yeah. Like the red channel is low when you've got these edges, yeah. It's maybe doing like I think maybe some kind of edge detection. Like a variable edge detection, that's kind of interesting. Like a tally of how many, yeah.
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 This just copies pre-baked textures. That's weird.
Why so many?
Why would you need to copy them like this?
Yeah, that's the eternal question. Oh, it looks like they're packing it into a single. Actually, I don't know. Never mind.
Maybe blending them together or something. Yeah, no idea.
Wait, what? 5 in for num mip levels, and then there's always 8. So they just hard coded it in the shade.
I guess, yeah, they fixed it one place and didn't change it in the other place.
Alright. They must have been like crunching hard. Like I feel like there's so much of this that if they had time doesn't make any sense.
Maybe.
Light culling is gonna be, yeah.
Surprised the author didn't complain about alignment here. Because there's gonna be 12 bytes of padding after the light type, and then another 4 bytes of padding after the field called padding. I believe.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
A whole bunch of light accumulation data.
Is Neo or Scorpio? That
Did they say what?
the Boolean down there.
Did they say what light culling algorithm they're using? Is it like tile? Are they using tile deferred rendering or?
I don't see anything now.
I don't think
They'd probably figure out by looking at the struct members, maybe.
The point lights.
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
So those are just the point light descriptions.
Unused shading mode.
Some to-do sections.
what is the SSR in the light ACC param? It says like
Strange picture
do.
reflections.
Is it? Yeah, maybe it is.
But the question would then be, why
Yeah, that's weird.
what does the light have to do with screen phase reflections?
It's the light accumulation data. I'm not sure.
Really weird.
Yeah, like these are not very big at all, but they take advantage of the interpolation to get smooth values out without storing a big fat texture.
Oh, for color grading, yeah.
Just a big lookup table. Well, not that big, but representing something that would be bigger. Yeah, and then there's the videos of the thing. These are cool. Yeah, you can watch each thing be drawn in. That's
We're already at event 102,000.
yeah, Christ.
Oh, because that's when the GPU actually starts doing stuff.
Oh, right.
Hmm. Yeah, another thing with Insight is you can look at pixel history. So like through this whole sequence, you can pick a pixel and then you can be looking at values associated with that pixel, like frame to frame. So you could pick something that clipped or like something you were getting bad values, and you can watch like through all the draw calls what happened in that pixel, what the outputs were anyway, and
That's cool.
kind of figure it out, kind of trace it back from there. This is that guy, yeah, definitely. Oh, this is gonna have the blur then. The
Well, theoretically, the other one, they just didn't use it.
right, yeah, that's true. That's a little creepy. The bits of the face popping in. Okay, that's
Really makes you realize how insanely fast GPUs are.
yeah, it's really wild. Just how much stuff happens every frame. It's just no big deal. 16 milliseconds.
Yeah.
It's totally crazy. Huh. Vertex to texture approach. Huh.
15,000 vertices or triangles seems like a lot for. But I guess if you want nice animations, you need that.
It does
Yeah,
seem
that
like
is ridiculously tessellated. And it's mostly flat too, so all those triangles are worthless.
Well, I think I think it does get all
Oh yeah, it's
animated
animated.
and stuff.
you might animate it, but yeah, still that's a lot of damn triangle. But I mean,
But it is finely subdivided.
the triangle budgets now with the culling and stuff, I mean, they really are like pushing millions and millions of triangles every frame. It's really
What
something else.
how does this texture lookup work? Because you have so it's 7,977 by 121.
You might have like a text bar
How does that
per
line up?
vertex,
Okay.
and then you refer to the textures off of that, or it might be just by position in the vertex buffer. I'm not really sure.
Hmm.
Yeah, because what is that? 45,000. That doesn't line up, but
It's like it's only 1,000 less than the number of vertices, I guess, but also you need it over time, right? So when the 7,977, that might be, or I guess it'd probably be the 121. That's like frames of animation.
it could be. It could also write back to these textures with new data.
Yeah, it could be. I think it's the frame of animation, and the column represents like the the object space height of the vertex. If that makes sense.
Like a displacement.
Like you just got
The one column of the texture would be the, or I guess one row. There's 121 columns. The one row of the texture would be like the flag standing upright,
Oh,
and
like
then you sample it based on the height of the vertex and object space. I'm just guessing.
That's
yeah,
really cool.
That makes sense.
So you basically have 121 frame animation. Yeah, because you can kind of see subtle changes down the Y here, of like,
Oh wow.
yeah, like where it like kind of the normal changes.
Oh yeah.
This
That
looks
looks quite
really
cool.
interesting. Yeah. Almost reminds me of the RGB parade stuff, but I guess that would just be cyclical
Yeah.
motion. Like it goes from black to green, back down to almost black, but you got some sort of looping behavior that I guess you go through. That's really cool, actually. Yeah, and I guess you don't need to store it explicitly if you've got, oh, what is it? That's 2 texels per vertex. Yeah, I wonder if they take advantage of the interpolation to get more data there.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah, because that's a really good solution
quite
for.
good.
Yeah, that seems like a really nice way to do that. Because you don't necessarily need real flapping simulation there. It's going to be convincing enough to pre-bake something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can extend the runtime of the animation by interpolating down the Y. That's actually a really neat way to do it.
Right.
I like that a lot, actually.
I need render targets that are there for the sake of being there.
Just to pad the required specs for your machine running it.
And they store a single channel in an entire RGBA render target.
Yeah.
Oof.
No, they didn't have a lot of synchronization between threads. Huh.
Multi-threading is not actually multi-threading if it was 100% multi-threading. What does that mean?
I think you want to have some sync between the threads. Maybe. Yeah, I don't know what they're trying to say there.
Oh, like at that point you're like, if there's no syncing, you're just running different programs at once.
Basically. Yeah, I'm not. That's a weird way to say that. Game assets are not well taken care of.
I would love to see some like really pro graphics devs just like be given 6 months to dive into this code base and see how they can optimize it.
Yeah, it'd probably be too crusty to make big changes, sadly.
Maybe.
It's wild how much code goes into a game like this. I mean, you I don't know. Without seeing it, you'd never believe it. It's just like millions and millions and millions of lines of code. It's like, Jesus Christ.
Do any of you follow I think it's Sebastian Altonen on Twitter?
I think
He
so.
used to be at Unity but then joined like a startup where he's rewriting their render and he's like live tweeting the whole thing.
I know him, but I don't of him, but I don't follow anyone.
Oh, fair. But it's worth taking a look through his tweets because he goes into like everything he's doing.
Look.
Oh, so this is saying that they barely use LEDs.
Yeah, I guess.
Same mesh half a kilometer away.
So they actually tested it. Yeah, looking at the data, that's interesting.
Wow.
Oh, except at a certain point it does.
But then at this point, they say it should be an imposter rather than a lower LED. Yeah, it really sounds like I bet their just whole code base is incredibly messy and tech deady at this point.
Got the splash screen stuff. Oh, that's interesting. Speculation that the libraries may have been removed, but the credits were not.
Right. Huh. That was very interesting. There's a lot of mystery there.
Yeah, it shows you that AAA graphics is not exactly as clean as I expect them to be.
Yeah, that's a good point. Makes me feel slightly less bad about my messes of projects.
It's an interesting mix. Yeah, a lot of times of like very over-engineered solutions, and then very ad hoc like stuff that just got kind of thrown together. Yeah, especially when there's like third-party stuff involved. Like, we just got done removing Umbra from our stuff, but that was like a third-party culling thing, and everybody had very negative opinions about it. I guess I never really saw it much in practice, but yeah, everybody seemed to be very glad that it was gone.
Must be a nice feeling for them.
Yeah. Oh, well, I guess that's it then. Yeah.
Cool.
It's,
I want to know more about the decal stuff. That I found very confusing.
yeah. I think that would be an interesting subject for. Yeah, this would be an interesting subject for a week sometime.
Yeah.
I'd like to try to implement something like that. It looks really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it took 2 hours to read a single article.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we had to blow through some parts too.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, awesome. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this.